My name is Joe Sage. I have here with me today my colleague and fellow assistant principal, Mr. Sean Peck. We're here today chatting live with admin. Obviously, there is quite the topic for us to discuss today with our recent school closings around COVID-19. So we're here today to share some information with you from the high school, as well as to provide an opportunity for you to ask us questions as they come up. We will do our absolute best to answer them. As most of you know, this is as fluid of a situation as it gets, and so we might not have the answers, but we will do our best to find them for you. So, Mr. Peck, maybe you can start off by mentioning some thank yous to some people that have been doing quite a bit in the district, right?
Yeah, it's been obviously our entire world has changed. The new reality that we're all living in is completely different than what it was just a week ago, and we've all been living through this together, and so I don't have to describe that to any of you. You get it. But a lot of people have put a lot of time and effort in, and I want to start with our food service workers. One of the things that came out, I think just within the last day or so, is the district has made a really good commitment and decision to make sure that every child living in the Faribault community is fed and that their nutritional needs are being met. And so yesterday was the first day this was offered, but again tonight from 3 to 6 p.m., any child living in the Faribault community under the age of 18, I think it's 18 and under, from 3 to 6 p.m. today would be able to go to the Faribault High School, the Faribault Middle School, or to Jefferson Elementary and pick up a sack supper. If parents want to come and say, you know what, we've got 3 kids at home, we need 3 sack suppers, you're going to get that food. We want to make sure that all nutritional needs are being met. And so big time shout out to our food service workers. Now, the official state shutdown officially begins tomorrow.
Yes.
And so what food service is going to do then is they're going to transition to these sack breakfasts and lunches that are going to be available every day that this shutdown continues, every weekday, I should say, not Saturdays and Sundays. But you would be able to go to 5 different locations every day, every weekday from 7 o'clock a.m. to 9 o'clock a.m. Those 5 locations are Buckham Library, Evergreen Estates, the Cannon River Mobile Park, 4 Seasons Apartments, and right here at Faribault High School, right by door 3, which are the athletic doors, those of you that are used to coming into our buildings. Just pretend you're coming to a basketball game or something like that. Right at those doors and in those locations, you will see a school bus parked, and you'll be able to come and get those sack breakfasts and lunches, like I said, every day that school is closed. So we have volunteers coming in that are packing these lunches. They're meeting every day at 6:30 in the morning, getting the bag lunches together, getting on bright yellow school buses, so they'll be pretty easy to see. All the volunteers will be wearing Faribault Falcon t-shirts, so they'll be easily identified. We're trying to make sure that there's at least 1 English-speaking, 1 Spanish-speaking, and 1 Somali-speaking volunteer at each location, and that this distribution of food will be handled as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I love this, and you know, we will talk here in just a few minutes about our approach to academics in the next 2 weeks. But what I really appreciated was the amount of people that came together that said the basic needs of our students comes first. And a big shout out to many of our cabinet members here at Faribault Public Schools who have been working around the clock, as we all know, very fluid situation since last week, making sure that all of this was ready to go first thing on Monday. That's wonderful.
And we did go through those times and locations really quickly. All of this information is on the Faribault Public Schools website as well. It's being shared out in a number of social media formats. But if you have any questions, or if we're going too fast, or if something is confusing, feel free to call the high school or the district office, or just visit the Faribault Public Schools website.
Wonderful. Mr. Peck, we do also, in addition to providing some lunches, both lunch and dinner for students, we have a childcare program set up. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah, well, part of the governor's executive order was that schools would be shut down. And one of the fears, I guess, is that a lot of the health providers in our community would have kids that would then be at home. And so maybe a doctor, a nurse, an emergency worker, a police officer, a firefighter wouldn't be able to go to work because then they would have to stay home and care for their kids because school isn't in session. And so one of the things that he put into the executive order is that our district and every district around the state will be providing childcare for health workers or emergency workers. And that will take place, it actually began today, at Roosevelt Elementary School. Now, if you are in the Faribault community and your kids go to Faribault Public Schools, you might want to check with your employer if you're working in the healthcare field or working for the police department, fire department,
Yep.
Anything that would be considered sort of emergency services, EMTs, anything like that. If you are in any need of childcare during the school shutdown, we're going to encourage you to reach out to the district, and we can make sure that you have childcare for your children. I know that list of people was continuing to grow yesterday and throughout the day today, and we will make sure that we're accommodating anybody who needs it that are working in those professions.
Perfect. In addition, our building has been open today, starting at 8. It will be open until 3:30. We are encouraging students to come in and grab any materials that they may need. Again, we want to stress this. At this point, it is unclear how long a shutdown will last. So students, if there is material that you need in your lockers, or your classrooms, please come in and get it today up until 3:30. In addition to that, medications can be picked up tomorrow if you need to get them from the nurse's office from 8 to 10 a.m. Final thing we want to talk a little bit about here, and I need you to do some clarification here for me. A lot of the lingo that we're hearing is around this word called distance learning. It is different than one of the things that we often hear, which is e-learning, right, or digital learning. But now with this pandemic happening across our country, distance learning is what's being used. Can you help Faribault parents and students, community members understand what that means?
Yeah, I want to make sure that we do that, but we skipped over one really important topic that I want to address really quickly. The school is deeply invested in making sure that we're supporting the mental health and the chemical health of our students. Our counselors, our chemical health specialists, our social workers, and our teachers, quite honestly, are all deeply invested in making sure that all of those mental health needs of our kids are being met. And that will not stop during this pandemic. Even though we are shut down, we still do have the ability to have students make appointments with those people that I just referenced. We would open the building for them. Again, we're all working during this time. Now, some of it will be remotely or virtually, as we're calling it. But if your son or daughter is experiencing some mental health angst, which obviously the stress and anxiety throughout the entire world has elevated over the course of the past couple weeks, if you're feeling like you need to utilize some of the school's resources with mental or chemical health, please call the school, 507-333-6100, and you can make an appointment with one of our mental health providers, whether that's a counselor or whomever it is. That might have to happen virtually. It might have to be a video chat or a phone call or something like that. But we want to make sure that those resources are still available for the people who need it. It matters. And we know that a lot of people are going through some pretty stressful times. This is scary. It's scary for me. It's scary for all of us. It's scary for my kids at home. And so if you need to reach out and utilize those services, please do that.
And we will most of the time our means for communicating virtually will be through Google Hangouts, an app called Meet. We also might be utilizing a program called Zoom. So if you want to download those to your personal devices or your school devices to become familiar with them, please do.
Yeah. Now we've talked about food, we've talked about mental health, chemical health, we've talked about our custodial staff, we've talked about a lot of stuff, but after all, we are a school. And learning matters.
Yeah, I jumped the gun a little bit. I'm glad you brought that back. That was really important stuff.
Obviously, we're in the business of educating kids, and we have a deep responsibility that we take very seriously to make sure that we are offering the best education that we can. We have a goal of delivering a world-class education to every single student who walks through our doors every day. And there's some pressure now because we still have to uphold that standard now, but the entire paradigm of how we deliver education has changed.
Yes, right.
There will not be school buses of children dropped off at our door. So how do we do that? Well, a big portion of it will be digital learning. It will be e-learning. It will be logging on to Schoology. For some of your younger children, it might be Seesaw. It's going to have this electronic component to it. But we didn't want to limit ourselves to saying that all of it, 100% of it was going to be delivered online. And so we took a route that was going to be distance learning. And that was actually some of the phrasing that the governor and the Education Commissioner used as well in their address to the state. There will be some things that teachers are asking students to do if we're remotely learning that have nothing to do with the screen. Mm-hmm. It will require them to go outside. It will require them to read books. It will require them to have paper and pencil materials in their hands. We want to make sure that the entire toolbox for learning is over and that we're not just limiting ourselves to things that can be delivered on the screen. A lot of it still will be. I mean, let's just be honest. It's 2020. We're very, very fortunate that we've got a one-to-one device set up at the high school. We're very fortunate that a lot of our teachers have already, gone into this personalized sort of learning route. And so I think a lot of the transition will be a little more seamless here than it is maybe in some other districts. I think we're set up for success, but we didn't want to limit ourselves to saying that 100% has to be delivered online. So we just want parents to be aware of that and be ready for that once this actually gets rolled out and teachers start giving assignments.
And to be clear, in the next 2 weeks, in accordance with what the governor said, there is no curriculum or instruction being delivered up until March 29th. And then if there were to continue to be a school closing, that is where we would begin to implement distance learning, correct?
Right. So that's a really good point, Mr. Sage. Thank you for that. There is no new assignments being put out online right now, and that was a directive from the state. Some of the parents watching this right now have students that maybe have missing assignments that they had from before the break. They should do those. Mm-hmm. They should absolutely go and do those assignments and turn them in on Schoology or email them to the teacher. Email teachers, say, what can I do during this 2-week break? Yeah, there's no new information being disseminated, but that doesn't stop students from continuing to learn during this break. The other thing that I will say is read. And that's probably more true of younger kids that are kind of learning to read and in those sort of elementary grades. But the same thing holds true for our high school students as well. You should be spending time reading every day. I know that I do. It's a big part of what I do. And I think that everybody out there should be spending some time with their nose in a book, whether it's a novel or nonfiction, whatever you're interested in. This is a chance for you to learn and not worry about being graded and high stakes testing and things like that. Just focus on reading what's interesting to you.
This is all the students are watching are going, hey, I thought I had 2 weeks from him telling me what I have to do here.
No, we're still going to boss you around and tell you to read.
So with the academic side of things, to all the parents in the community and students, there will be an update coming from our superintendent, Todd Sesker, within the next few days. The last 2 days, our leadership team and groups of teachers have met to begin the important planning process that is going to be required of us to implement such a change in instruction and curriculum. So as of right now, that is all that we have for you. We don't have any questions that have popped up, but please feel free, if you're watching this at a later time, if you have questions regarding anything around the school closings and COVID-19, please don't hesitate to message us. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Yeah. I will say that in the last few days, I have been really, really proud of Faribault. Yeah. The community, the town, the teachers, the students, the staff, the custodians, our food service, everyone has come together. And I think that more so than ever, when I hear the words, "We are Faribault," boy, does it mean something right now.
Yeah, it's been a special thing to be a part of, all of the people coming together to support not only the schools, but the entire community. We're all in this together. To any kids that are out there listening to this, we miss you. You know, we do what we do every day for kids. It gives our lives that's where we find meaning in our lives. And so to think that our students aren't going to be here, we miss you. And we're looking forward to that day when we can have you come back to the schools and we can invite you back into the building. But until then, we are here. We want to support you. And please know that the entire Faribault community is supporting you.
Absolutely. That's all we have for you today. Thank you for joining us. Again, don't hesitate to reach out with any questions. This has been Joe Sage and Sean Peck. We are Faribault.